to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be discussing Boo, a Madea Halloween, a film we could not possibly be more qualified to talk about. I'm the editor-in-chief over at bloodygoodhorror.com. Joining me tonight, first up, he lives in Chicago. He's a lonely Mets fan living in Chicago. He also drinks beer. His name is Joe.
Can I unmute now? Is it okay to unmute?
Yes, Joe.
Should I mute and then unmute?
He also runs our Instagram at BG Horror. You should check that out.
Oh, hey.
I've been seeing a
some
lot
Halloween pictures last night.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people with the Halloween face morph things on the Snapchats there. Good times.
Ours was 100% real.
That's right. Next up on the show, building bloodygoodhorror.com with his magical web beaver hands. He's also my brother, which is probably the greatest thing about him. His name is Mark.
Oh, hello.
Your relation to me, your greatest accomplishment.
Yeah, we can talk about that later, I guess.
Yeah, let's get that out in the open right now.
Next up on the show, published author of horror fiction and co-host of the Instamatic. His name is Casey.
I just want to let you all know that I just saw that my mother is posting memes from some page called Just the Tip on Facebook right now.
Okay. Perfect.
Oh, okay, we can end the show now. That's
my news for the day. Thank you.
Could you ping me with that discussion thread so I can just follow it? Because that would make my night. That'd be great.
It's not as good as the time she was sharing pot leaves from Tommy Chong's page, full buds, because it was pretty.
That's awesome. Nice. Speaking of Just the Tip, last up tonight, joining us, he's the business manager at bloodygoodhorror.com, coming to you from Manhattan in New York City. His name is John Schnars.
Hello, Eric.
How weird does Manhattan get on Halloween, John?
Pretty weird.
Yeah.
I mean, weirder than normal.
Do you guys get?
We got the parade down on down in Chelsea. That's like it's big. It's a big deal.
They don't mess around.
How do you handle the trick or treating? Because I'm in a condo building, so we didn't get anybody because our door doesn't go to the outside. There's another door.
Yeah, so our building's pretty big. There's probably 400 units in the building, and I would guess that it's 25% of the units have kids in them. So the building actually hosts trick or treating.
You could literally just trick or treat and never leave the building.
Yeah, no, that's basically what especially with little kids, where it's you're really only trying to be trick or treating for 30 minutes or something. I came home from work, I get on the elevator, and there's just kids in costumes with their parents and kind of going door to door. So
I like to share a little bit of that with our listeners, John, because if you're not familiar with it, city life can be kind of weird.
Oh, it's different. It's definitely different.
Nobody else thought John was going to say that they don't promote the idea of free handouts.
Yeah, kid, come in and wash my dishes, then I'll give you candy.
I'm actually super curious. We didn't do it this year. James, he's old enough. I guess there were other kids that were his age out in the building, but we just didn't feel like it, I guess. But
wait, yeah. How old is Jay? Isn't he 3 or something now?
He's 2.5.
You didn't take him trick or treating? What the fuck, John?
He's in his bed at 6:45. So
that sounds
I don't
great.
get home till 6. If I had thought about it, I probably should have taken
Neither do I, but I left work early because I love my daughter.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. You make a strong point.
Do you drug him? Do you drug him? How do you get him in bed at 6:45? That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a little thing called sleep training.
Can you send me the guy? Can you send me the number?
He does CrossFit. He gets very tired.
Can you send me the number to your drug guy so I can hit him up?
Yeah.
Be great.
I'll let you know. I got a lot of tricks on my sleeve.
It's just babydrugs.com.
Baby drugs. It's actually 2 Z's.
Yeah. On the dark web.
Well, it is the saddest day of the year for horror fans. November 1st, post-Halloween coital bliss is gone. You get a little bit in the morning. Now, really, it's really just first thing in the morning. You wake up and you're like, it's November. Wow.
It was harder after work. My yard is barren because Colleen took all the decorations down, and it was very sad. It looks empty.
Wow. Next day.
Casey,
I know.
Casey, I
She was messing
assume,
around.
I assume you did your usual Casey dressing up and scaring the shit out of neighborhood kids.
Oh yeah, there was video on the Bloody Good Horror Facebook page last night.
In
So
your big Mongo Frankenstein costume.
oh yeah, it was pretty great. It was oddly enough, I got like hugged by like 5 kids.
Nice. Did you make anybody cry?
No. This year nobody cried, but I did have some fun. Did get a lot of screams, but the 5 hugs threw me off. I wasn't expecting.
Do you give out good candy after
yeah.
you scare kids? Okay, good.
We get like 3 of the big Costco bags, so if they make it through the whole gambit, they get like a handful. So it's all good.
As long as no one on this call gives out good and plenties, I'm fine. I can remain on the show.
God.
Mike and Ike's are okay though.
Oh,
Where
yeah.
do you guys land on Smarties?
I fuck with Mike and Ike's.
I love Smarties.
okay with
Smarties are
Smarties.
good in small doses.
I love Smarties.
But if you
Yeah.
if you give out Smarties though, you best be giving out 2 things, and the other thing better be real candy.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not. It's
like
it's
if
an
you
app.
give one Smartie thing away, you're like kind of that's rough.
A Smartie's like an appetizer.
What
No,
about just giving out sugar in the raw packets?
well,
that
we did a Halloween parade on Saturday, and like there was a lot of Smartie throwing. Like that was like a common thing that some of the people in the parade were throwing. So
Are you throwing
That's
them at
where-
homeless people, or are you throwing Smarties at homeless people?
I was not in the parade. I was a receiver of the
Oh.
things being thrown.
I bequeath my Smarties onto you, hobo.
We
We
went-
did have also what I'm assuming is like a teenager rite of passage for Halloween. My daughter had a little party last night for Halloween, and I heard one of the teenage kids in the room as I walked through. They said, "Hey, Michael just snorted a pixie stick."
Oh,
Jesus
brother.
Christ.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Oh,
did a
brother.
little downtown, like in our little town, like parade thing, and I saw this kid, and it's amazing. Like you ever see the like bleeding scream masks in the store? Like I always looked
Yeah.
at those things and thought they were dumb, but then to actually see somebody wearing it, and when you turn it on, he can control it. He could like hit some button that would make the blood like pour down his face. I was like, you know what?
I have
That's
no
awesome.
idea what you're talking
No,
about.
neither do I.
Yeah, look it up. It's just like it's literally like it's a scream mask, and then there's a thin translucent layer over the top, so that there can be like blood in between like the 2 layers.
Yes, Google bleeding scream face.
Yeah, right.
See what that gets you.
.com with a Z.
Mark, how about you? The only thing weirder than New York City Halloween, as I can attest to, is Florida Halloween.
Oh yeah, well actually it was pretty. We live right now. We're living with the in-laws, live in a very nice little residential neighborhood. So there's a lot of young kids. It was a pretty moderate trick or treat group, but we just gave out candy to kids, and I watched like 4 or 5 movies yesterday and ate pizza. I just had like a nice chill adult Halloween. I did watch The Witch again, which
Nice.
God, it's awesome, man. I liked it the first time I saw it. I loved it the second time I saw it. It's just so like it's so spooky and so like perfectly seasonal.
That's what I should have done. Did you buy it, or is it on Shudder or something?
No, it's
No,
on
it's
Amazon right now.
Yeah, if you have
Yeah.
Prime, it's free on Amazon now.
I do not.
No, okay.
Oh,
Well,
free.
So did your father-in-law by like your 4th movie start walking through the living room and just sighing and shaking his head as he
oh
went
no,
by?
I watched those by myself.
The best.
I watched. What did I watch? I watched The Witch. I watched Gremlins 2. I watched The Addams Family, and I watched Hellraiser 2.
Nice. Oh,
Yeah.
Hellraiser 2 is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, the best adult
It
Halloween.
was lots of like, it's like it was like goofy, bleak. It's
well,
like
it's like
peaks and valleys.
it's like a mixtape. It's got to be up and down, you know.
Man, fucking Gremlins too, though. It's like the '90s. Like everything's fine, but corporations are the worst thing ever. So it's just like fucking. It's
I've
like,
always wanted to work in that building.
Remember when?
It's amazing. Just this idea that there's this like huge building with a guy who like I'm pretty sure is supposed to be Donald Trump. Like his name is even kind of vaguely Trumpish. And they have like a genetic testing facility in the building, and
But he was like super nice. He was like a nice
but he was
guy.
very
He wasn't
nice,
like a...
right?
I always saw him more as a Richard Branson type character.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Great.
Still great. Just a great movie though.
Joe, how about you? How about your first Halloween back in suburbia?
We burbed it up hard. Yeah, we took the little one out to trick or treat with a bunch of her friends. My sister-in-law is staying with us, so she does like really good makeup. Like she's worked in like theater before and stuff. So she actually, like, I'm not big on like dressing up, but I figured, since she's here, I might as well. So she painted up my face like Abbott. It's like a black metal yeah.
Was it a specific person?
Yeah. He's from it's this band Immortal. They're like black metal. You know, they're a deal.
They're pretty good.
They're kind of a thing.
Because I looked at it. I looked at it and I was like, oh, Joe went as black metal guy.
Yeah. So the best part though was like Leslie had like a mask, you know, just like subtle stuff. So we roll up, and these families of Mia's friends who I've met like twice, nobody did anything. So it was like I'm meeting their like parents for like the first time. I'm like, hey, how's it going?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
good. You know what,
but-
Joe? Good for you for keeping the spirit alive.
Yeah.
It
It was awesome though. I love
I
the
always
Burbs.
dress like this.
Yeah.
Like, hey guys,
Oh, I
greetings and salutations.
You should have been like, sorry, I just got out of work.
Yeah.
happy.
Sorry, I
Happy
didn't have time to
Sunday.
change.
That's
But
great.
yeah, no, the Burbs are awesome. I love it. We got so many kids at our house. It's like the first time we've had that experience. So
It's great. Sounds
Nice.
like everybody had a very good time. It's
Cool.
awesome.
Yeah, it was a good Halloween.
John Schnars,
Eric.
you know what November does give us the chance to do?
Turn the heat on.
Yes, but also
Not today.
grow manly mustaches.
Oh yeah. Movember.
Or as
It's
I
a
like to
thing.
call it, the month where Schnars looks like a pederast.
So yeah, I mean, last year I participated in Movember. It was my first time. We do it pretty big at the office. There's probably, as of right now, I think the team is 16 gentlemen. You know, and we're making it go. The deal I made this year with the crew at the office is that I didn't want to fundraise because I actually just did a bike ride, like raising money for MS, which went super well, and it was a good time.
No big deal.
But
cured it. You got it.
yeah, we you know what, guys, don't worry about MS anymore. It's done. But no, but so like I didn't want to have to like it's you can't like email your family every fucking month and be like, hey, I'm raising money for something else now. Like send me, you know, like people will eventually just punch you in the face, Madea style even.
You have like a GoFundMe to like buy shaving cream.
Yeah. But so I made the deal with the team at work. I said, if the, you know, I was like, guys, if you can raise, I said a certain amount, you know, if you can raise this amount, I will let you vote on the style of facial hair that I will have to wear for the last week of the month. Mainly because it's going to take me that long just to grow a respectable amount of facial hair to then style.
John,
but,
have you ever
yeah.
seen Orange County Choppers? That's what I'm going to suggest to you. That's where the mustache goes all the way down your neck, like it continues to your like
I
Adam's
mean,
apple.
Listen, the main thing was like I told them I'm gonna provide them with 5 options because I had to weed out things like Hitler stash. Like I was like, there's gonna be some things that are just
What
like.
about a Hulk Hogan bleached handlebar with
Oh,
like black
black
shoe polish
stubble.
filling in the
Yeah.
areas. that
Schnars,
are-
if there's no Hitler stash, then what even is this all about?
Yeah, it's a fair question.
Too on the nose for you, John.
Basically, the point is, tune in about 3.5 weeks. There's going to be an interesting facial hair situation developing.
2 questions. Does soul patch count?
Yes, I discussed that with my wife tonight, and I
very
was like, I
nice.
think I have to list soul patch as one of the
And
options.
what about reverse Hitler, where you just take the strip off in the middle and then you got the 2
Oh.
sides?
I think that's okay.
That's not offensive to anyone except your wife, probably.
That's like a Genghis Khan or something, isn't it?
I will vet all options by Suzanne before this goes to.
Also, how's any of this going to work when we all know you can't grow facial hair?
I mean, I did okay last year. You guys saw there's photographic evidence.
That's true.
you
It
know.
did provide me with photos for the
Yeah.
stream for a full year, so
It's
I'm pretty
pretty.
excited.
The problem is it's pretty light colored. So like even as
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like coming in, it's still somewhat matching my skin tone.
Oh, you'll grow up someday, buddy.
Yeah.
I always got picked last for mustache team.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, guys. If there's one thing that I am not good at, if there's only ever going to be one thing, it's okay with me that it's growing.
Do you
facial
remember the
hair, so.
episode of Cheers where everybody grew really long beards? And,
Oh yes.
And the contest for who had the best beard was won by the amount of beer you could suck up on the bar into your beard.
No, I
Yeah.
don't remember that, but
I
Tuck
could've won
Clayman
that
had
last
like
year.
patchy nothing until like the last day, and he showed up with like a full like ZZ Top.
wait, who won?
Classic. I don't remember.
No, I don't remember either.
Yeah,
It's
I think it
not
just
really
turned
about
out
who
Cliff had a
wins.
fake.
Yeah.
good times. Hey, Joe.
The audience won.
Joe, speaking of cirrhosis of the liver,
Yeah. Speaking of beer.
Cheers, where everybody knows your name. What are we drink? Oh, nice. What are we drinking tonight?
We are drinking a beer for Boo, a Madea Halloween. So simple plot. Tyler Perry's daughter wants to go to a frat party. There's lots of beer and magic going on, which reminded me of my drinking days in college. And it reminded me of a delicious beer that maybe isn't that delicious, but I enjoyed a great deal in my youth. And this is Jenny Cream Ale.
Ooh.
Oh God.
From the good folks at Genesee Brewing Company.
Official beer
Up in
posters everywhere.
I miss you so much.
Yeah, up in Rochester, New York. Jenny Cream Ale. So the reason I picked this is, like a frat party or any sort of college party, like you're buying the cheapest swill you can get.
Sweet.
And for me growing up, Jenny Cream Ale was that. The name makes it sound a lot more appetizing than it really is. Cream makes it sound like, you're going to get like some sort of creamy, delicious beverage. In reality, their beer is actually really just kind of a mix of their ale and lager beers. And fun fact, so this is an actual style that Genesee Brewing Company created. Because the story goes that when the owner was getting married, or after he got married, his father-in-law thought lagers were too light. He thought ales were too heavy, so he didn't really like any of the beer that they were putting out. So the owner set out to create a beer that the father-in-law would like, and this is what he came up with by sort of mixing the two styles together. And now it's kind of spawned into the whole thing. Like a lot of breweries do actually make like cream ales that could be argued are a lot better than Jenny's, but it still holds a special place in my heart. Comes in at about 5% alcohol, so around the same lines as like a Bud or something like that. It really kind of has the same sort of flavor, like almost like a cereal, like cornflakes, very like sweet. Nothing in the way of hops or anything like that. So really sort of light and easily drinkable.
It also weighs in at a 10 on the stomach disaster scale.
Oh yeah, it'll destroy you. The best way to drink this is probably through a funnel, like 3 or 4 of them at a time. But on like a hot summer day, it's still pretty good.
Mouth or butt funnel?
Either way,
Okay. Yeah.
do what you got to do.
Just
Yeah,
checking.
we ain't judging.
God.
Why not both?
Their website is geneseebeer.com. And if you're into nostalgia, I recommend this one.
It's something about the water from High Falls in Rochester that really gives it its special quality.
Polluted upstate New York water. Delightful.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for that, Joe.
Yeah.
That's the beer
Thank you.
recommendation, something you get every week here on the show from Mr. Joe. That's going to do it for the intro. Let's take a quick break and talk about Boo, a Madea Halloween.
You know, it helps that I'm smooth and nutless.
See how my scrotumless bottom fits snugly with the tree?
This is Ashley C. Williams from The Human Centipede, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror Podcast.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time, bitch. Main feature.
And we're back. John Schnars.
Eric.
Nothing would please me more than to hear you describe to me what a Madea Halloween is about. But first, it's time for the word of the day. What do we got?
I was so close to chiding you for skipping word of the day, and then you circled back around on me. Very well done.
That's right.
Today's word, officious.
Oh,
That is
Snap.
Officious. Officious means assertive of authority in an annoyingly domineering way, especially with regard to petty or trivial matters. It also can mean intrusively enthusiastic in offering help or advice.
Oh, John.
Interfering.
It's like somebody was looking up a word when he should have been taking his son trick-or-treating. Good for you.
Good, I like the commitment. That's nice.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. You know. Yeah, officious. I actually stole this word right out of the description of Madea on her Wikipedia page.
Wow.
So, did some reading today,
Get stitches.
and I thought it was quite apt. So here we are. Yeah, Madea. Do you want me to try to describe this thing now?
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing? Okay.
That's what we do here, isn't it?
Madea, boo, Madea Halloween. This is the, I believe, 12th theatrical Madea, not really Madea film, 12th Tyler Perry theatrical release. It's, I didn't count them up. Let's call it like somewhere in the 7-8 range on Madea movies. The movie, as Joe sort of described in short earlier, finds Madea getting involved in the life of her nephew, Brian. Brian is a sort of reoccurring character in some of the other Madea movies. He plays I believe he's a federal prosecutor, but he often sort of like legally represents Madea when she has legal problems. So Brian has a daughter. God damn it! I navigated away. Tiffany, yes.
Right?
I navigated off of the page of this actual movie, and now I'm just on the Madea page. But yeah, so he has a daughter, Tiffany, and Tiffany is going to this. She wants to go to this party at a frat house, and in fact, she does. She sneaks out and goes to this party after Brian has gotten Madea and all of Medea's friends to come sort of babysit her because he has to go out or go to work or something.
Not
like
cool,
that.
man. Sneaking
Yeah,
out.
so she has like sort of a cadre of similarly old and sassy friends. There's Cassie and Patrice. Then there is her brother, Joe. Joe is the brother, right?
Where the hell are you getting these names from?
Is that her
Oh,
brother?
you're giving the real names. It's Aunt Bam and Hattie. Come on.
Oh,
Joe.
you're right. I'm sorry. I'm giving
It's Aunt Bam,
Joe.
Schnars.
Good call. Yeah. No. Yeah, Aunt Bam. Yes.
You know,
Hattie Mae.
You know, America's
So-
sweetheart, Aunt Bam.
Yeah. So Joe is played by Tyler Perry. So he's sort of doing double duty as Madea, Mabel Madea Simmons, and then Uncle Joe Simmons. And then you have these two other friends. So they're kind of there babysitting. But the girls sneak out. They go to this party. There's definitely some like sort of funny games being played by the frat boys. Not like in an aggressively rapey way, but not in like
It's
a
pretty.
we're not.
It's pretty PG. Like in that sense.
Yeah. It like
no one's
way
getting
more
raped.
aggressive things.
Yeah.
In fact, like shockingly more aggressive things are seen on like a casual episode of Law and Order SVU.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, this, yeah. So,
And their credit, the moment they find out those girls are 17, they're like, you got to get out of here.
oh, no.
I was very surprised at that. Is
Yeah.
that
They were like,
coincidence?
they were like, you got to get out of here. We can't rape you if you're 17.
Like we're gonna have to come back to having a conversation about the frat and the way the frat is represented in this movie because yeah, they're actually like super nice and like are throwing like a pretty well behaved party for as far as frat parties go, and to your point, like they didn't try to do anything foolish with these girls. So but the girls are there, they end up leaving or leaving on their own volition, or kind of being asked to leave, and Madea and like the friends who have kind of shown up to this party caused a little trouble, and then they leave, and I guess the cops come at this point, so the frat brothers are all like upset with Madea, so they're gonna like prank her now.
John, you
And
forgot the part where she walks into the frat party and multiple people touch her boobs because they think it's a costume.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, if you want me to describe all of the sight gags in this film, I will do that, but
Yeah.
I just
Maybe
thought-
they weren't that nice of guys.
I just thought that one in particular worth pointing out.
yeah, it was strange. It was a very odd scene. So then they're going to then prank Madea, and so the kind of setup to the prank is that the grant, or the niece rather, who they've been babysitting, they are like she was kind of pranking them earlier and like kind of making them scared to be in the house, and the frat brothers kind of come to the house and then amp that up to 11. They have a guy in the frat who can quote unquote hack things, and so he like hacks into the lights,
Hack
like
a sink, which that
Yeah,
doesn't.
he hacked the plumbing.
yeah, he hacked the plumbing. He also like made it so that they could write on the mirror, even though there was like, I don't know, that was very odd to me.
In this film, that was somehow the least believable thing.
And so they kind of they prank Medea and her friends, and then they get all upset, and then I forget what happens next, but then essentially Medea and her friends are like, all right, we got to get these guys back because they're like really amping up the pranks. And so they then kind of turn the tables, and they also turn the tables on the daughter, who's being super, she's basically like disrespecting her father. And they're having all these conversations with the dad, like, you have to like beat her more, and like you don't take a firm enough hand. Like literally there's a point where they're like, no, you should be like smacking her around a little bit.
A little bit.
Not a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Yeah, a lot bit. And you know, to be
it was John.
about,
What you're referring to is about a 20-minute ad-libbed riff in the middle of the film, entirely about how hilarious child abuse is.
Well, oh yeah, there's that scene, and then there's also the scene where they go to throw her out of the house.
There's multiple scenes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and all of these scenes are extended. To
And
your
then
point.
another extended scene where they joke about all the ways they beat Brian when he was a kid, including throwing him out of the window.
Yeah, there was like, it wasn't even like a joke. It was like a story that they told for like 5 minutes.
And the number 2 pencil that stuck through his testicle.
Oh, yeah,
it looked like a pencil.
That's right. Yeah,
I forgot about that. Oh my God, sweet Jesus!
I forgot about that.
But
too.
did you die?
So, all right, just to wrap things up, they then turn the tables on the daughter, who they have to teach a lesson about respecting her dad, and the frat brothers by convincing them that there's a dead body in there. Like one of the other girls who was at the party got murdered at the party, and then they call the cops, and then the cops come and put them on a bus, and they convince them they're all going to jail with like a bunch of other criminals who then get into like a fight and are joking about like jail rape.
We're a
and
little.
things like
We don't need all that right now, right at this very moment.
I mean, that was all of it. It's done.
Before we move on to the roundtable here,
it's not like there's like a spoiler alert at the end where we're gonna wrap this up. So.
Before we move on to the roundtable here, breaking news from Twitter.
From I just saw that too.
Blue State Pod. I'm no snitch, but I think Joe BGH might have done a repeat beer tonight. Hashtag Ask BG.
Oh wow.
I might have.
You know, it's funny. I was actually going to comment on the fact that I was surprised you hadn't done that before, but I was like,
Joe, maybe if you didn't take your daughter trick or treating, you could have prepared for the show.
There you go.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking. I can't find it in my notes, but I wouldn't be surprised because I realized as I was telling that story, I'm like, that sounds really familiar.
Joe, I know you're probably reeling right now, but could you tell us what your experience with Madea and what you thought of this film?
I don't really care if I did one twice. I'm gonna be honest.
That's fine. I just wanted to call you. I just wanted to call you out.
I have never actually seen a Madea movie before, and I was kind of interested to see this one, and I think we'll kind of talk about. I was expecting some actual like horror elements in this, which I think is why we all kind of agreed to watch this. Like I don't know who else, but I feel like I kind of pushed to watch this for sure.
Yo, let's be clear. I never agreed. I consented. Okay.
I still don't regret it. I had to know, and now I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
At one point during the movie, my wife leaned over and she's like, "Did you push to watch this?" And I went like, "Yeah." And she's like, "They all hate you right now." So awesome. I didn't know what to expect. I thought I would find this funny and sort of now that I'm like older, I kind of find Adam Sandler funny. But it just like a lot of it just did not hit for me. And I don't think it's because I haven't seen it in the movies or anything before. Like I just felt a lot of the ad-libbing really dragged on.
It's the whole movie. The whole movie feels ad-libbed.
Yeah. And it feels like uncomfortable acting.
Joe, I think this might be mumblecore.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think somebody mentioned it on the. It may have been you, Eric, that like Tyler Perry is not a good actor in these.
Yeah.
But like he was in like I've seen him in other movies, and he is like he's a fine actor. So I don't know what like sort of the filming process is for this, but it just felt very odd, like the tone.
Mumbledea.
And I was kind of bummed that there really are no like other than maybe like the writing on the mirror and stuff. Like, there's really not much horror here. Like, not that I was expecting like slasher stuff, but I was expecting like at least a couple jump scares or something.
They do play the horror up in the trailer, so I think you're forgetting thinking that. I think we all thought, maybe except for Schnars, thought there might be a little something.
No, I expected there to be more. I totally agree with you guys that they made it look like there was going to be some horror elements. There was like the clown that's like kind of stalking. Like there's a scene where it's like he's coming down the stairs and Joe is sitting on the couch. But it's all
there's the zombie scene too.
Yeah, in the woods.
That's one of the big ones.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you're right, but I don't know. Like it didn't have much.
It's one of their big expensive set pieces.
So yeah, I mean, overall, I was kind of disappointed in this.
All right, Mark.
Oh boy. So we had a very long. We often talk about you can judge how a discussion on the show is going to be by how long the email thread is, because we usually have a lot of things to talk about. We should off the top kind of acknowledge that we are a little bit out of our depth here in terms of Tyler Perry's overall body of work, and also we're just trying to find objective ways to comment on it, because I think that there are certain cultural things that will be lost on us, and we probably will say things that are accidentally offensive. So just kind of want to throw that out.
You might say we're in the weeds with Tyler Perry, Mark.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, I kind of agree with Joe, right? Like the marketing for this was very much, and we could talk about like it did really well at the box office and all that, and like Tyler Perry's movies tend to do well anyways. But like part of the thing that drew me in was they were really just going for the horror part of in promoting this movie. Like even the trailers, it seemed like there was a lot more spookiness going on. And then you watch it and it does feel like a freeform special, like a made for TV sort of deal, except there's a bunch of cursing and like weed smoking and shit. But it also has this very like moralistic sensibility to it. It's like kind of a kid's movie, not really. It's all over the place. I did find like a lot of the sight gags funny, almost self-consciously so. Like I'm like, this is really stupid, but it did make me laugh. But I think
I laughed way more than I am comfortable admitting.
So I agree. Like I did too. But one of the biggest problems, despite the other objective problems of this movie, is that it's 2 hours long. Yeah. So it's like, if this was an hour and a half,
it's an hour
or like 80 minutes, it would be.
I think
it's an hour and 43 minutes.
Okay,
is
so
what they
3 hours long.
It feels like 3 hours.
It should be.
If it was a little shorter, I think maybe I would be a little bit more on board with it, because it would be kind of silly and then it would be over. But it just like it drags.
It's very long. Yeah,
it's something.
I just want to say, if someone can tell me what episode I did Jenny Cremel on, I will, give them a high five. I can't find it.
I love this.
Well, I just, in my defense, I can't find anything in my notes. I've done other Cremels, but never Jenny Cremel.
He is so under your skin right now, Joe. I love it. Look at the look in your face.
Pod.
You're so mad right now.
At us.
One of us is wrong, and one of us is me. So,
Casey.
Let's see. I've never seen a Madea movie. I was familiar with the character from trailers, clips, things like that. So I wasn't completely ignorant to it. I've never seen one of the movies to know what it was about. Going into this, I'll tell you what I was hoping for was something along the lines of Ernest Scared Stupid. That's what I was hoping to get. I didn't get it. So, but yeah, I kind of agree with Mark. There were some good sight gags that made me laugh. I feel like there's probably some jokes with these characters that have been around for all of the Madea movies that I was missing out on, but a lot of them did fairly well to still elicit a chuckle, just from the random stuff that was going on. Some of the stuff did seem kind of awkward, like the long on-running joke about child abuse. That seemed like it was a little awkward.
But I agreed with them. Like, thought that that was appropriate.
It's also not a joke. Like, I actually don't think that's like explicitly meant to be. But yeah.
Well, I mean, we've all seen like the Eddie Murphy stand-up talked about it as mom in her shoe.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's unprecedented. But yeah, it's a movie. It's not offensively bad. It's not something that I would necessarily rush out to watch again, and I'm not going to rush out to watch more Madea movies again. I wish it had more horror elements too. I was expecting more, like everybody else. Again, like Ernest Scared Stupid would have been like the perfect balance, I think, with that kind of a horror elements that movie brought, and it just wasn't there. But I could see it's kind of like a, I don't know, like a racier, a little slightly racier, like Lifetime type movie to an extent.
Sure.
That's kind of as far as they go as pushing the envelope.
I think Mark or somebody kind of hit it on the head. It's like a freeform ABC family movie if they dropped the N-word a bunch in the middle of it and smoked weed.
That's the one I was looking for.
Which does not happen in movies on Freeform. No. As far as I haven't watched all of them, but if I were to guess.
Hey John, go ahead.
Yeah, so I have seen a couple of Madea movies before this, and I believe I issued several warnings on the show, or certainly to the crew in general, because I
still don't believe that that's true, so that's why I didn't listen to your warning.
No, that's fine, but like I have. My wife and I rented. I went back and looked it up because I was like I couldn't even remember which one I watched. So it was Family Reunion, which is the second in the films, and then I've seen probably about half of Madea Goes to Jail, maybe a little less. The reality is this is exactly what I expected it to be. I actually would say that this was funnier than I expected, and that the horror elements were about where I expected them to land. Tyler Perry, and like I actually feel like pretty comfortable talking about Madea and like Tyler Perry's sort of like overall thing. I read a little bit about it today, and like I said, I've actually like seen the movies. I've been somewhat interested in him as like a creator. It's worth mentioning, like, this movie isn't just like starring him and he plays several characters. He writes, he directs. It's like he's the ultimate auteur, like so much more than most other movies that we see these days. So like all of the good things you say about the movie, like he gets credit for, and he has to like eat the blame for all the bad stuff as well, at least in my opinion. But it's like atrociously made. I think you have to start there. To say that it's no, but like to say that it's even like on par
like
with
from a technically. Yes. First of all, I meant the word freeform as literal freeform. I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Freeform is what ABC Family, they rebranded as Freeform.
Literally, that is a total coincidence that I said the word freeform. I did not mean to do. I meant
right. No, it's not a coincidence because I said freeform in the email. I think that was just memory in the back of your head that kicked back up.
I literally mean freeform, like they showed up on the set that day and just went, "Here's what we're gonna do today."
Yeah,
I don't know.
I do think they ad-libbed a shitload of it. No, but like I think it's like disrespectful to ABC Family movies because they are technically
they look better. They're lit better. They're shot better. Yeah.
Like he doesn't spend 5 minutes thinking about cinematography. Not even 5 minutes.
I do some of this day to day, so like maybe I'm just focusing on it more. This might be the worst movie, like lit movie that I've ever seen.
Yes.
Like just shadows everywhere.
The kids would say this was not lit. Is that
it was anti-lit?
It was not lit.
Yeah. No, and so like I think you have to start there. That like so like it's almost like if you judge it as like a piece of cinema, like it almost like fails on those terms, and like then it's like, well, what does it succeed at? Like it is fair. I think it's funny. I think it says some like real like there's a lot of interesting sort of like socio-political or like cultural and loose ends to kind of like pull at here. I mean, Joe or somebody mentioned like this movie was #1 at the box office this weekend,
2 weeks in a row,
and the weekend it came out. Yeah, so
2 weeks in a row, and it's like pretty much tripled what the budget was already.
Yeah. I mean, which this has a production budget of $20 million. Where in the fuck did that $20 million go? Like, did Tyler Perry just like take $10 million?
Do you think Tyler Perry pays himself separately for all the different characters?
For the characters? Maybe. I mean, who the fuck knows? But like $20 million, like they weren't spending it on special effects. Like the characters, like the actors, there's not that many actors in this movie. But
I love that. Now, my contract's set. Now let's talk about Joe.
yeah. But no, I mean, so like Madea is, and like Casey sort of mentioned, he like knows who Madea is, even though he's never seen these movies, because like it's a cultural phenomenon that's like very much worth talking about. And the fact that this movie is as successful as it is, I think is like definitely worth talking about. The fact that we're talking about it on a horror podcast is like, tough because to your guys' point, like we're not wholly qualified to like get into a deep discussion
and
of
again
like
too,
African
like
black culture.
Sure, like, and I think like it's hard not to take in the sort of like cultural, racial aspects of it, but you know, 2 weeks in a row, #1 movie, and I sat in a full theater full of white people. So like, it's not just black audiences that are making these movies #1 in the country.
Yeah,
that can't be possible.
It's a smart move on Tyler Perry's part because, like I said, and John mentioned, it's a cultural phenomenon. I'd never seen a Madea movie before. I know who Madea was, so doesn't it make sense that somebody like me is going to pick Boo a Madea Halloween to go see? For my intro to it.
Yeah.
And it's holiday themed, so
and just
that's our culture. We identify as Halloween people.
Well, but that's
that's
why we did this film. And just to kind of round us out, like, I think that when you make a film called Halloween, whatever, Ernest Scared Stupid Madea Halloween, like, you're inviting in a wider audience to check out what you're doing. I think it's a play at potentially a wider audience. So I think that brings it into our wheelhouse. Like, I don't want to spend a lot of time debating whether or not we should have reviewed it because we went and saw it, and like I think we can now turn.
We are reviewing it right now.
Well, no, but I think I don't want to like hand wringing over why we're doing it. As you know, like we're here, and all I can do is bring my own experiences to bear as a lens to view this film. You know what I mean? So like as a horror fan, I go in. And like I rattled off this morning like a list of my initial observations. Like, it's lit really awful. It's directed really awful. Tyler Perry is a bad actor. He's a little better as Madea only because it's kind of like a well-worn shtick. But it really blew me away. I think 95% of this movie was ad-libbed. I think they turn the camera on and they just go and they leave like 80% of it in at the end. Like, the idea that they're like, I can't imagine how much dialogue was actually written in this film because even when he's doing Madea stuff, he's rambling. He's literally
the broad
just, like,
plot is like definitely structured,
well,
right?
Of course.
Yeah. And like the history of Madea as a character is like they actually started as stage plays, and that's where a lot of the production feel comes from.
Yeah,
sure. So like, there is a ton of people standing around and talking in this movie, like way more than is like ever, should be done in a movie.
Yeah.
But that does harken back to like where these things came from to start with. And I do think, to your point, like he basically sketches out the underlying moral element that he wants to hit on. And in this case, it's really a movie about parents and parenting, and like I think there's some interesting commentary on sort of like generational conflict. I mean, like, I don't know if commentary is the right word, but like discussion maybe. I don't know. But
so I mean, for me,
jibber jabber.
It's funny. Like there were
definitely jibber jabber.
I'm not gonna lie, there were stretches of this movie that were painful to sit through. I think in particular, the first scene where Brian and Madea, or where Madea and the rest of the family are like, have gone to Brian's house and they're sitting in a circle just talking with each other. I mean, it goes on for like 20 minutes.
It was like being at someone's house and wanting to leave.
But
that was definitely the part where.
And so like the conversation, and neither can Tyler Perry. Like, he just like can't get out of the conversation.
Here's my like two major competing thoughts on this film though. Like, no bullshit. At one point during this movie, I tried to force myself to take a nap.
You were like, if I just close my eyes, maybe
I did. I paid for this movie and I full on tried to make myself go to sleep. Shockingly, considering I'm not sleeping at all, I couldn't do it. But yet, I laughed more than I expected to. And now that I'm free from the pain of sitting through like the being too long, the moralizing, the bad pacing, like there's a certain charm to this film that has kind of like wrapped its way around me. Like, I feel like there is something about, like, I kind of get it in a way. I don't understand a lot of the cultural stuff. There were times where I'm watching this all-white audience laugh at these characters where I felt a little uncomfortable. Like, is it weird to be, are we laughing at stereotypes? You know what I mean? And like, again, that's like this whole conversation that it's difficult to get into. But like, frankly, the physical comedy is funny. Like, I could watch Madea punch people in the face all day long. Like, it's dumb, but it's really funny. So, I think that the main bullet points, though, real quickly, just for like horror fans, this is not very horror-y. This is not like Ernest Scared Stupid level of awesome, like spooky comedy stuff. You know, but still, I think has some merit for us to discuss, just as something that's aimed potentially at people who like spooky stuff.
Yes, I mean the reason that I watched the Madea movies previously is like I actually was expecting them to be much broader comedies because they don't ever highlight in the trailers the moral element, right? Like he literally, if and I'm curious, like did any of you guys know if I hadn't said anything because I know I brought it up to a couple of you guys, like did you know going in there was going to be this like sort of moral
Yes.
underpinning to it?
Because
I only knew because of general like internet outrage about
Yeah.
it because the bent set, you know, it's like moralistic and it's Christian. It's pretty heavily Christian, maybe
Oh.
not like directly, but also like that I've heard about it in the context of it can be the conservative kind of viewpoint can be somewhat problematic when it comes to relationships. And it's in this too, like his relationships with women and like how he treats his daughters and like that sort of thing.
This one was like way more dialed back. Most of the time, like the one that I had seen, the family reunion, it was like a rich or he was like a lawyer who like ends up saving like a prostitute, and like the only way he can be saved is like by helping this. Like there's always this like there's like relationships and people making bad relationship decisions that like can only be solved through Christ.
So,
like that kind of element.
I
to it.
remember.
Why is it always a prostitute?
I remember
Well-
reading an extended think piece after one of his movies came out in which the wife cheats on her husband and then gets AIDS.
Well, that's
Oh,
not one of the Madea
jeez.
movies. That's
No, it was not. It was one of his other movies, but I remember it being like,
That was
okay.
real life. That happened.
And I haven't seen that, but someone sitting next to me on an airplane was watching it. There's actually like a ton of nudity in that movie, if I'm thinking of the same movie.
All right.
I mean,
Um,
There was
So-
no
yeah,
nudity
check
in
it out.
there was no nudity in the think piece, but it would have been better if it was there.
So just to go back again, like not to beat the point
I believe
about
it's
why,
called Temptation.
why we're-
Confessions of a Marriage Counselor. That's the movie.
like
I'm talking about.
you know, just another point of why we're watching this. Like, I feel like I know that it was like kind of a joke leading up to it, and like I lobbied for it a lot. So if anyone has to like put any, I don't know if I have any actual sway. I'm not even sure people listen to me most of the time, but
Oh, you got
the,
sway, Mark. Don't worry.
oh, thanks, man. But like, I think the fact that we actually watched it and are talking about it is far more important. Like, I just demonstrated kind of the problem with how white people talk about Tyler Perry movies is that most people haven't seen them. Like, it's
Sure.
you know, like
Yeah,
actually.
totally.
Even though this was kind of a labor to sit through, even though it was like a little bit fun in parts, like I do actually kind of feel like the things that I've read about his movies, I now better understand because I've actually seen one of the movies.
Mhm.
It's pretty easy to kind of cast judgment from outside of it, but being able to like actually see the movie and talk about it, I think makes a pretty big.
It's
Well,
like
yeah, and to me, this one was funnier. The moral element was sort of toned down from some of the like real. Like, there's only one sequence in a church here, and
it's-
it's like not critical to the
it's
plot.
not super cheesy.
How
The
many
whole-
church scenes are there in the other one? Yeah.
Joe, I like actually urge you, if you are interested, go watch Family Reunion or whatever it's called, like Medea's Family Reunion.
I kind of want to watch the Christmas one now that we're getting into.
The
I
only-
can only
season.
imagine.
The only moral really of this one, it's not very Jesus-y, but basically you have Brian as this like ineffectual father, his daughter is kind of running all over him, and then you have 45 minutes of the movie being the older generation telling him to just beat it out of her, and then at the end they sort of like come to a like middle road where we're not trying to be friends with our kids and we're not beating the shit out of them, we're like beating them with love. And
Yeah.
he eventually kind of makes up with his daughter, and you have this, and it like honestly like kind of sweet moment at the end of the film where they kind of like all come together and figure
I
each
mean,
other out.
he
and-
does it by like convincing her she's going to be like raped in prison.
but it's not Jesus-y. Well, that's a whole other thing.
like,
I don't think that was his intent. I think it just kind of worked out.
Can
that
we
way.
talk about like
I think
you know,
that was
that-
Medea's intent.
we're a little all
the
over,
actors were really like losing themselves in the roles. They're like,
Yeah.
can you just dial up the rape talk a little bit? When
We're-
you're doing it? I think it'll be really effective that
we're
way.
a little all over the place, and there's tons of stuff to talk about. But one thing I wanted to make sure to mention. So, like I said, you know,
Clowns, right?
I saw it with an all-white audience. It is Boston, so that's not like the most shocking thing. But the like age swath for me was really fascinating. So I was flanked. It was a full theater. On one side of me were two women who looked like they were probably in their 70s, who looked like they were having a grand old time. On the other side of me, a mother with like 3 kids under 10 probably.
Yeah, there
which
was a lot of kids in my theater, which I was
there-
uncomfortable with.
There were like, I hate to even like say this. I know it's like stupid, but like there were like 6 N-words in this movie. Maybe there was a bunch of shits. They're talking about weed the whole time and getting high. I'm like, and it left me feeling with like, it's this really weird like toned down milk toast thing. where like even the frat guys aren't rapey, even though that's obviously like what's going on. You know what I mean? It's like very sanitized, and yet in the middle of it, they're doing these things that I would like never want my kids to go see in a movie.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like weird that it's PG-13. Like, and like it feels like there's times where you're like, holy shit, like just Uncle Joe or whatever the hell his name is could like get this thing an R.
But like, no, but I guess
I
like,
thought was the best part of this thing.
Oh, it's not even close.
But I guess maybe though, it's maybe just this mom should not have brought her kids to this movie, but you watch the trailer and it's like, oh, it's this wacky Halloween thing. She's punching the guy. Haha. Like,
I mean, this
other
movie
movies have that.
No, I mean they do not have, like, the other ones that I'd seen didn't have Joe in them. The Madea Goes to Jail might have, but I don't think he was in there. So he's like, Madea is herself like pretty profane, and in this one she's like talking about how she was a prostitute and she used to like dance on the pole and stuff.
1K.
Yeah. So yeah. She's got some good lines.
That
like,
was funny.
You have to tip your hat to some of the lines.
I'm not gonna lie, I laughed at the Ho 1K.
Also, well, the scene where
she used it like 3 times, unfortunately. So
I mean, the scene where she's trying to get like let into the party and the dudes are like batting around her boobs trying to figure out if they're real. She flashes them, and then like, you know, that would be in any other movie, it would be like a 2-second sight gag and it would be over with.
It's just
she has her dress open for like 30 seconds and they're like talking, they're like having like a full-on conversation about it.
Yeah.
It may have been
she
longer.
She kind of urges them on, doesn't she?
Well,
that's
that's
them to touch
crazy,
them.
right? That's
they
insane.
do touch them, right?
There's also
they touch them without permission, and then she gets mad, and then she shows them.
There's also a running joke about how she's a man. Like, there's a extended joke about how she may or may not have a prostate, and then several times later in the film, her man voice actually comes through for a second. My audience ate that shit up. They loved that.
I thought that was actually pretty funny.
I actually was curious if that was part of like an ongoing gag in those movies.
It must.
I gotta
it
imagine
must
it is.
be,
I legitimately laughed probably the hardest when I forget. Like, she was going upstairs. I forget who said it. It was like, if she doesn't come back, I want you to know that's a man. And then they just like cut away.
So
that was Joe.
Did anybody else
But
notice?
that's like, so that in itself too, and like if I'm just flipping through my memory of internet outrages I've read over the years, like just the existence of the Madea character and like that joke in general, like hits on some pretty sketchy territory if we're thinking about. I mean, there's a long storied history of like men playing women in movies, right? But like
black men especially, yeah.
It's like. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't. But that is like a perfect example of something that I just feel wholly unqualified to even talk about, but something that I just definitely notice in movies.
I think that like, you know, that in 2000 maybe you don't bat an eye at it, but in 2016 I just think like with how forefront like gender issues are nowadays, like I guess it feels a little you know, just kind of old school in a weird way, but the whole thing does, right? Like the whole exercise kind of does.
Yeah, there's essentially like it's funny because it's a pretty it's calmed down from the height of sort of like Madea criticism, but I think to Mark's point, like all of the underlying elements of Madea are still easily criticized and maybe are like, it's just like we've all kind of like accepted it, or not we all, but just like culture in general has accepted it. So like I sent you guys a couple of things pre-show, but like Spike Lee like very famously came out and was like, Tyler Perry is a fucking, you know, minstrel. I think the turn of phrase they used was coonery buffoonery, which I thought was pretty good. I you know, again, Spike Lee's
really fits into a tweet if you're gonna tweet about it.
Yeah. But
I wasn't gonna say it out loud, Schnars, but it looks like we went there.
No, I mean, but like, no, it's important. Like, so, and there's been other like, there's other
Schnars went there.
There's other like black like writers and thinkers who have like come out sort of against Tyler Perry, and like his defense, and like it's a pretty strong defense, is like he makes like populist films, right? Like he fancies himself a populist filmmaker, and he makes entertainment for the sort of like broader black community to consume. And like to Eric, as you mentioned, like there's a pretty big white community apparently that wants to see these movies as well. And so like,
and his point also of like people are obviously relating to these stories and characters in some way. So like, who are you to tell my audience that they're not allowed to relate to that?
Yeah. And I said this to you guys in the email, but like the troubling thing for me is like, that's the same argument that everyone uses to defend Donald Trump. They're like, Donald Trump is
Yeah.
like popular, and he like speaks for a like big section of this country that is like upset and feels disaffected for any number of reasons. Like many people think he is a monster, including myself, but like that, like you can't just like write off those people who think he's not a monster, right? And so like you can't write off the fact that like Tyler Perry makes really popular entertainment, even if, and as Mark described, like there's a lot of really questionable, offensive stuff, not to mention the like Christian moralizing and like preachiness that like it's like you know you could talk about it being sort of like all the things that come along with some of that Christian moralizing, right? Like not like traditional marriage and not supporting gay rights and yada yada. Like the movies aren't explicitly about that, but like there are undertones in some, especially in like Family Reunion, there's definitely some undertones of people making like questionable sexual decisions and that leading them into like really dark places.
Which was part of what gave me kind of hope for this movie too, though, because it's interesting to see things like horror coming from people that from like a group that you wouldn't normally think to see horror coming from. So you think of like the looking, and I'm talking the religious aspects of it. These are more conservative type movies, the moralistic and things like that. And it's interesting to see them try and craft a horror movie and see what comes across as scary as that, from those people.
Yeah.
And I mean the religious people when I say from those people.
Yeah, I mean, like, I did just, like, so one thing I mentioned earlier today was that I expected more homages. I expected more nods, even if they were hacky, like everything else in the movie. I expected more, like, visual nods to movies. Even, you could have done that stuff Anyways, I guess I went in wondering, like, how big of a horror movie fan is Tyler Perry really? And I came away thinking he's not at all.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Never seen a movie.
He's not even like an appreciator of like cinema. It doesn't seem like,
no.
Well, and I was saying too, like this is a very clear separation, right? Like when I was talking about, I posted a picture on Instagram of the Halloween poster with like the old, which I actually thought was just a fucking brilliant piece of marketing. I was the target for that poster, and I bid it hook, line, and sinker. I took a picture of it. I was like, this is amazing. And obviously that's just a different group of people that are like tapped into this thing of like, people love mashups and they love all this stuff. So like if we can get people thinking that this is going to be a great Halloween movie, and obviously we all watched it around Halloween, like it worked, right? Like to a degree.
I mean, we all had.
You can argue that it worked because the movie was successful. I just don't know that it like totally delivered once you got over that line, right? It just seemed like it came from two different sources.
I think like we all at least had the appreciation that we were probably getting in over our heads in some way. I really wonder what like a group of friends who wanted to go to it for that exact reason, Mark, thought like coming out of it, like what the fuck did I just see?
Do you think a lot of that like gross really was people going and thinking like, oh, maybe this is a good Halloween movie? Like I can't imagine there was.
I bet a percentage
the
of
last
it.
couple movies have all done super well. Like they all make this much money. This isn't out of line.
We are a very specific subset of people that went to see this movie, and that subset might only include 5 people.
If if anything, like I do just want, like John was saying, kind of calling him an auteur and talking about how involved he is. It's amazing he gets these films into theaters because they are like held together with duct tape. They are so cheaply made. I don't think.
Well, it's 90... not. He made it for $20 million. A lot of filmmakers would kill for $20 million.
I don't think 90% of the actors in this movie have ever acted before. The acting is so off the charts. Amateur.
He bought $20 million worth of duct tape and sold it for $60 million.
We should say, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, John, but Lexi, the girl who did like the 5-minute twerking scene in the middle, the first line of her IMDb description says she was conceived in the back of a '69 Cutlass.
Nice. So the guy Jonathan, who's the president of the
keep doing that research, Joe.
The president of the frat in the movie, he's a famous YouTuber.
Yes.
So
I think so is Lexi.
He was so
which
bad.
I didn't know necessarily.
He was so bad.
Well, it's funny because his YouTube thing is apparently doing pranks, or that's like one of his YouTube things.
Well, there's another guy. There's another guy on there that's also
terrible.
a YouTuber that was one of the frat guys who is the professor who makes stupid humor videos, and they're actually pretty good, geared towards people that are into weightlifting and stuff like that.
Which one's the professor?
He's the one that had the Jersey accent.
Oh, that guy was awful too. God.
Which his Professor character is that times 10, and it's put on.
I just saw that he had an AMA on Reddit today, and I'd never heard of that person before today.
Well, it's really funny. I mean, if you think about it, that's brilliant marketing, right? Because all of these people are on their YouTube channels promoting this movie to their YouTube audience, which is going to be younger. It's going to,
And if you're watching the video, or if you sit whenever you see this video when it's up on YouTube, I found a lot of GIFs on Giphy that I sent to Eric, and it's like there's Snapchat filters. There's all like this whole thing is very media savvy, right? Like at least all the promotion around it is pretty.
Which it's just crazy because the underlying movie is so
bad.
Garbage.
Yeah, but it's interesting though to see how media savvy that the promotion is, and that once you realize that how much of the cast outside of the core Madea crew are media savvy people.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's pretty clear that it's just about kind of getting you in the movie, and then you're like, this was just silly enough. Maybe I would go see another one of these movies. I didn't leave feeling like that, but I imagine people do, right? Because it's like, I don't know, man.
It's really funny, man. Like all the complaints I have about this movie, and the fact that I literally tried to get my body to go into a coma in the middle of it, and like I kind of look at it fondly after watching it.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm telling you, go watch another one, and you'll get like 10 minutes into another one of these and just be like, no, we're not doing this again.
No, I'm never doing that. I'm never watching another one. That's fine, but
I think I might partake in Christmas around the holidays.
Yeah.
All right, guys, what's everyone's favorite scene in this movie? I think we should try and at least talk about that.
That's a good question.
I'll start while you guys are thinking. I actually, as much as we're like ragging on the ad-libbiness of this movie, the trick-or-treating scene in the beginning, like the conversation is so ridiculous. There's like a weed pumpkin and a Jesus pumpkin behind them. It's like your introduction to all the characters, and I just thought it was it hadn't lost me at that point, right? Because it's like one of the first scenes in the movie, and I would say overall that extended sitting out like giving kids candy scene was my favorite.
I kind of liked when Madea and Aunt Bam roll up into the party. Or no, it wasn't Aunt Bam, it was the other one. It was the crazy one.
And she can't control her hips.
She's dancing, yeah. Like, I don't know. That made me laugh. And honestly, like, the recurring joke, which I'm sure is from the other movies, about how she has warrants and she can't be around cops, like, that kind of made me laugh every time.
Yeah, there's a lot
fucking
of it.
Tyga, though, you get Tyga, you could get... So you've got fucking tons of money. You could get somebody else.
Actually, I think that for the quality of this film, Tyga's, like, the perfect equivalent.
Ugh. Terrible.
For the record, I knew who Joe was dressed up as for Halloween. I don't know who Tyga is.
No, I have no idea.
I'm sad to admit that I do know. It's mostly because of a Kardashian thing.
Yeah. I thought any of
Joe,
the
don't you watch
with
The Real
Joe.
Housewives? You should know who that guy is.
He's not on The Real Housewives.
I know, but it's all tangential.
I don't
It's
know
like
what that
one
word
universe for
Please
Eric.
don't start this conversation with Joe in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Absolutely not. I thought any dialogue with Joe was actually pretty funny. Like specifically the first one, which I can't even repeat, being who I am. Like I thought him and Brian going back and forth was actually pretty funny. Like I legitimately laughed out loud at some of those moments.
Yeah.
I thought he was quite humorous, Joe. Joe is my favorite character, and his dialogue was...
Did anyone else notice that instead of just like... So Joe's an old man, right? But he's played by Tyler Perry, right? Is Tyler Perry? Instead of just painting like old man, like liver spots on his hand, he has full-on rubber prosthetic hands that look so disgustingly unnatural, and they're like way big and puffy because it's got like it like looks like a silicone glove they put over his hand. It made me want to vomit. It was so gross.
Well, I think that's kind of like a diabetes joke too.
No,
but
I think that's just a bad fucking makeup effect is what that is.
I think my favorite was like up in the attic when Madea ended up decking the clown. You knew it was coming. You knew it was going to be there, but it was still pretty funny once they pulled it off just because of the size of Madea and going after an evil clown. It was pretty funny.
I mean, it takes like the Jack in the Box scene, which again is kind of encapsulated in the scene I already said was my favorite. This is just an example. I swear to fucking God, you could cut this movie in half if you just like edited these scenes a little better. Like the scene where the Jack in the Box is rolling up to them, hanging out in front of their house. you watch it come the whole way. It's
Yeah,
like
it
you're
literally
it's
like
you're
goes up the street. It's fucking
right.
ridiculous.
It's like you're watching a live video of this. Like it takes as long to get from the street to the front porch as it would if you were watching it in real life with no cuts. It's insane. It's like
Oh God.
it's really on it. It's on something on some other level. Oh God.
Okay.
Holy
Let's
shit,
move on.
guys. We fucking
Movie guide.
I
Mark?
think
Oh
we-
my, yeah, that's actually great. You know, Movie Guide's interesting because this movie does have some Christian elements in it. So I'm very interested to hear. Are you guys interested to hear? Is the question.
I am.
Sure.
Okay. Movie Guide. Whenever we watch a mainstream theatrical movie, we like to consult our moral guide at movieguide.org, letting us know what sort of objectionable things we need to be looking out for when watching this movie. Boo! A Madea Halloween features a strong moral worldview with some Christian content, including scene in a church where characters witness to protagonist, forgiveness and prayer, plus some pagan content, such as main character keeps saying when she was younger, she was a stripper and a whore, and some light occult references, such as one person falsely claims a house is haunted, at least 117 mostly light obscenities, no profanities, I don't think that's true, and some
That's not true at all.
scatological humor. Light, often comical slapstick violence includes hitting. Character punches other characters in the face multiple times. Group gets in a fight. Some lewd dancing. Sexual jokes throughout. Mentions of an affair. No nudity, but teenage girls in low-cut outfits. And Madea shows her breasts to college fraternity boys, but the audience doesn't. Underage drinking and drunkenness. No tobacco, but one character smokes marijuana and talks about it throughout the movie. And daughter is disrespectful and deceitful, but her behavior is rebuked, and she apologizes, and some other dysfunctional family elements.
Did they really write they smoke a marijuana?
Did I say what I said? No, it just smokes marijuana. I just write out marijuana because I just think it's so funny when anyone uses that full word.
Multiple characters smoke the marijuana in this movie.
Cannabis sativa.
She has a prescription though, so it's okay.
She does have a prescription that she keeps she keeps stashed in her dress.
No, it's a prescription.
I actually thought that was funny because she like mentioned she's never gotten to use it. She's like basically so
She's like,
excited to show it to
"Bam!"
the cops.
Yeah, that was funny. I would love to know why the other lady just like has a speech impediment. Is that just like a part of her character?
Yeah, I want to say my biggest problem with the movie was her, and mostly because she looked like she smelled like farts, and I got a real problem with old people that look like they smell like farts. Like, I don't even like to look at them.
That's
Where
fair.
the fuck did that come from?
God.
I don't know. It's a thing. It's a thing.
I
I get
mean,
in
it
my
must
head.
be a thing if you said it. Oh, that's
Like,
fucking funny.
what's her name on Mama's Family? Looks like she
Yes.
smells like farts. Like,
Hmm.
there's a
Great.
certain like old lady that like they have this look where it just looks like they have farts stuck
Joe,
on their dress.
I
we
think
made it
it's-
through this
I
entire thing
gonna
without
say.
you saying anything offensive,
Well,
and now we're
without
treading
anyone
into
really
dangerous
saying
territory.
anything
That's not
terrific.
offensive. That's a thing.
I think it's time to wrap up here, guys. Would you recommend Madea Halloween? If so, should someone see it in theaters? Joe?
I would say no, pass.
Mark?
No.
Casey?
I'm gonna have to go with no.
John?
No.
Yeah, I'm also gonna say no.
Tyler Perry doesn't need your money. He already did well enough.
Is there anything more sad than the thought of like seeing this movie after Halloween? Like
Oh god.
paying to see it like November 6th. All right, guys. That's gonna do
Boo,
it.
a Madea almost Christmas.
That's gonna do it for Madea
Ooh.
Halloween. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Friday, the 13th, 1980, was a very unlucky day for the counselors at Camp Crystal Lake. The girl who survived that night disappeared 12 months later, vanished. On Friday, the 13th, 1981, the body count continues. Friday, the 13th, Part 2, from Paramount Pictures, rated R.
Hello, creeps.
It's John Kassir.
The voice of the Crypt Keeper.
And I'm a friend of bloodygoodhorror.com.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BG Horror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back. We are back. Back in the house. info@bloodygoodhorror.com is email address, but we have no email.
Aw.
I thought we had one email.
Someone appeared to have sent us
It was-
a...
Somebody wanted you to help them transfer some money out of Nigeria?
No, Henry sent us a picture from Hawaii, I guess, with like 2 pineapples cut up as jack-o'-lanterns, and it said, "Hope everything is nice and spooky for you guys this Halloween."
Oh.
That's very nice.
a great email, actually. Can you put the pictures in the feed or something?
I was unclear if this was like a real thing, like if the picture was just a picture he sent, or if this actually is something happening in his world. But either way.
What? It sounds like he just sent us a nice email. I don't know what's confusing
You just
about
like
that.
you think he
No.
just like Googled like
Do you think he
coconut?
wants money? What is this?
No, that's what I'm saying. Is he just like on a beach with some fucking coconuts, or
Maybe
like
he lives in Hawaii.
it does
I
say
read between the lines, and it sounds like he's a manic depressive.
it does say Happy Halloween from Hawaii. So,
Yeah, I think he just sent us a nice email.
hey Mark, fuck you.
Thanks, Henry.
Go fuck yourself.
I don't think he has any ulterior motives. But you should definitely wire him some cash. I think he.
Anyway, that's the only email. info@bloodygoodhorror.com. We're also on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH.
Okay. So we have 2 hashtags. We've got some pretty good BGH classics this week, so I'm going to start with that. So BGH classics, if you are one of our loyal patrons who has access to the back catalog of our episodes, and you're listening to a back episode and you hear something that you think is funny and want to share, tweet it with the hashtag BGH classics, and we will read it on the show. And also, if you can try and fit the episode number in there, that would be greatly helpful to help people track it down. The first one comes from Attorney at Space. I kept saying there are no vampires in baseball in my best Tom Hanks voice. Episode 82, Delicatessen. We were
Nice.
talking about Twilight, and I'll
Yeah.
send you this picture, Eric. It's it's pretty funny. Maybe you can jam it on the feed or put the tweet up there, but maybe I'll do that in a
I
minute.
wish that you could just bottle my reaction that I had the first time I saw, I walked and my wife was watching Twilight, and she was trying to explain to me the scene in which the vampires not only play baseball but like have baseball uniforms.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where, like, when our kids are grown, we're gonna have to explain to them that this was like a major, like, sort of cultural moment.
Sure.
I don't
And
think we will.
I don't know. There's probably gonna be dumber shit then. Who
My
knows?
parents never.
Is Jim
explained
Bob already
Beatlemania.
asking about it?
No, not yet.
Papa, why do they sparkle?
Papa.
Oh, here's a good one. This is from Stout2114, episode 236, where the crew predicts a Tyler Perry directed horror movie.
Nice.
How about it?
Episode 236 was our Mama episode. Not super relevant to the prediction.
No,
but-
not at all.
How, like, what? Oh God, I wonder what the conversation. even
I know,
was.
I do. I said that, and I was like, "That's cool," and then I'm like, "Oh God, I hope, however we arrived at that conclusion was,
Yeah.
above board." I guess.
Maybe that was we did used to talk about the box office a lot. Maybe we were just talking about like box office in general. I don't know.
Every show, for the first 100 episodes, we had Schnars list off the top 10 box office, right?
I used to write a column, I think, for the site that was about the box office,
Yeah.
didn't I?
Who gives
I
a
remember
shit?
when everybody wrote for the website. That was fun.
Who cares?
Yeah, I remember
about-
those days.
Speaking
That was
of, we
fun.
have
Right,
all of
and
our
then-
actually everyone, including Vagrant Professor John Shelton and Eric Newell, who I don't know if you know used to actually write stuff for the website, got in their Halloween watch list.
I got
which
mine.
I know. I just was giving you credit for it.
Just under the gun.
I literally just was giving you credit for it.
I
Thanks for
loved
playing, Eric.
on the last episode when Eric was like, "But do I have to watch all of these movies this year?" And you guys were just like, "Do you understand what a list is?" I was dying.
Whatever.
I was like, the things that I laugh at in the show are probably very different than what other people laugh at in the show.
Whatever,
'cause I'm just
John.
like-
You're just exposing the dishonesty of most lists.
It was amazing.
Oh, you mean that guy doesn't really know all these funny cats? um, anyways, so all of our watch lists are up on the site, and you should definitely go check them out. I was immediately regretting not putting The Witch on there because, as I mentioned before, The Witch is going to be a go-to every year for me now.
There's a landing page, right, that has all of them.
Yeah, there sure is. It's featured on the website, so if you just go
bloodygoodhorror.com.
Yeah, no.
Well, I
know, dickhead, but there was other content posted in between that might be confusing if you're trying to find them all at once.
Well, so if you're listening to this and you go right now, I would say 90% of the shit on the front page of the website are actually these lists, because we have a ton of writers and a ton of people between that and the show. So definitely check it out.
It's a handwritten booklet that Mark is mailing out to anyone who asks.
Joe, I got a great beer for you next week. Jenny Cream Ale. Think about it.
Hey, I just want to say out there for the people on Twitter that are doing the BGH classics, if you want to dig through and see when the last time that Eric called Joe a dickhead was, that'd be great.
I guess would be just have to go back 2 or 3 weeks.
I was gonna say whatever the episode was last week. This last one is from Burninator Ben. This actually is a time code. This is amazing. Something Red episode 12, 34 minutes and 29 seconds in. Joe gets a daughter. We all get misty-eyed. Not a quote, not a classic, just a fact.
Oh yeah, we should have mentioned. Cece put out the Something Red podcast this week, and everybody, well, maybe not everybody, a lot of people chimed in and like recorded spooky stories and whatnot for it.
I know. I didn't make the deadline.
Yeah, my daughter made her podcast debut. With like 5-minute rambling story that she came up with.
Oh, that's awesome. That is worth it. All right. So also, as Eric mentioned, we use the hashtag AskBGH. You guys want to ask us questions that we will answer on the show. First one is from Zed Goat. This is in reference to our Ouija episode last week. Anyone else hoping Ouija would use the goodbye rule as a twist ending instead of shitting the bed for the last 40 minutes?
Yeah. Speaking of goodbye, have we yet to talk about how bad the Bye Bye Man looks?
What? I have not seen a trailer for it yet.
I've seen the last couple of shows. I've seen it.
That related to the Baba
worst
Man
title of a film.
When they say
ever
it,
to be released.
when they say it, it sounds like the Baba Man.
The Baba Man and the
Bye-bye
and the Quipmunk.
Quipmunk, yeah.
Yeah. Well, as we mentioned on the show last week, they didn't really follow any of the rules. So the twists were just kind of like they did not respect the Ouija board, which is strange because the movie is entirely about the Ouija board. So
what were they thinking?
I don't know. I mean, the movie was fine otherwise, but I do agree that they could have adhered to the rules a little better. Next one, Lovely Dead Adam. My girlfriend stole my BGH shirt and won't give it back because it's too comfortable. How do I get it back?
You never will.
No.
I was gonna say like where to get like some pit stains going in it, and then like you're good to go probably.
Yeah, that's a good move.
Pretty much your only recourse is to marry her, so that it then technically becomes yours again.
That's right.
If all else fails, we can tell you a good way to get a second BGH shirt.
Yes,
that's true.
BloodyGoodHorror.com.
$19.99.
Well, and we should mention the new Patreon T-shirt was revealed. It's actually posted publicly on Patreon. So if anyone's listening is not a patron today but would like to see it, you can go see it at Patreon, and then maybe you can support us, and you will have one mailed to you post haste.
Also, I gotta say, if you're just on the TeePublic store, I'm a huge fan of the thin hoodie that's available on there. It's like super comfortable, fits awesome. It's great.
Yeah,
it's if you've hung out with Eric anytime in the last year and a half, he has told you how comfortable that hoodie is. So
it's like butter.
Yeah,
Does it get those little balitos, like the little?
No.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. And no, it does not. You do not need a sweater shaver.
Huh. I might look into that then.
Yeah, so the order was placed for patrons, and those T-shirts were prioritizing getting those out. But we will eventually get that the new design up on TeePublic pretty soon.
I will give a shout out again to Josh, also known as Rat King Co., who did the design for the T-shirt. I love it more every time I look at it. It makes me so happy.
It's pretty great.
I can't wait for people to have it and then have to answer questions about what the fuck the point of it is. It's amazing. I love this strange little world we live in. Next one is from Weekly Neurosis. where does Boo rank in the Madea saga?
Yes.
John, I think you're the only one qualified to answer this.
It's the best one I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's also the
And
best
worst.
one I've ever seen. So.
And the worst, yeah.
So.
Hello. All right. Next one, That Baseball Joe. In the line of horror comedy-ish movies, where does Boo a Madea Halloween fall?
Pretty much last.
Pretty close
low.
to the bottom.
Very
yeah.
low.
Yeah. I mean,
Would you
as
say
just a
this
straight comedy, it's tolerable at times, but for horror comedy, it's like very, very low.
I get the feeling that I'm the only one that kind of enjoyed like a haunted house. Does it rank below that for you guys?
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Eric
Oh,
loved
yeah.
that movie.
No, Haunted House is pretty funny. I think it even ranks below those like Tiffany Amber Thiessen, like I Know What You Did Last Friday the 13th on Halloween, whatever things. It's below the with like Tom
Yikes.
Arnold.
I don't know if I've even seen those.
Because
I watched.
Because
I
even
watched
in a cynical way, those are doing horror movie things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kelly Kapowski.
I watched Tucker and Dale versus Evil again recently. What a fucking
And me too.
So funny. Like, why bother with any other comedic horror
Well,
movies?
I would make a strong case for Hell Baby, which
Oh yeah.
I have yet to revisit it, but I would love to because
I made my wife watch it, and it is amazing.
Hell Baby's great. Yeah, Hell Baby's fucking awesome. Po' Boys.
The po' boy scene is just pure gold. It's pure gold. Oh my god.
I'm gonna like go watch that movie right now. I'm so glad you brought that up.
I got stuff to do tonight.
Next one is from our very own Sophie, Philly's Femme. Is this not the first Tyler Perry movie for any BGHers?
John.
That has been discussed.
John.
Just Shanners.
I think I've caught pieces of them on TV, but I guess I've just never been super compelled to stay there to stick around for any more than a couple minutes.
I've never seen a single frame of one.
Okay.
Well, here we are.
There you go. Last one. It's from Yogzoth.
Mm-hmm.
I want to just call him like. Oh wait, I just have to have a quick digression here. One of my friends told me about this podcast this week called "Hello from the Magic Tavern," and it's a.
Is it a Magic the Gathering game?
No, it's not. I mean, but it is kind of like it's nerdy and in that sort of thing. But it's like it's a fictional podcast, and it's kind of like Welcome to Night Vale a little bit. It's like the whole premise of the show is this dude fell through a portal behind a Burger King, and he's in this like weird magical land. And it's just a show where they just like talk about random shit that's going on in the world, and it's mostly improv, and it's really fucking funny. So hello from the Magic Tavern. Just wanted to point that out. I don't know, like the name Yogzoth. It sounds like there would be a character named Yogzoth in that show. That's why it reminded me.
That was like a very random digression.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. I just had to get it out there. It was in my head. So this is from Yogzoth. Did you guys watch any movies for Halloween?
Oh yeah.
All of them.
I already mentioned I saw Halloween in the drive-in. That was pretty cool. I may watch.
Yeah, we watched that the other night.
I may redo Halloween this weekend since I didn't actually get a chance to do anything, so I might watch some more stuff.
I watched. I think I mentioned it on Slack, but I watched episode 2 of season 3 of Black Mirror, which is sort of a haunted house episode that I highly recommend. That was the only spooky thing I got to watch for the season, though.
What I meant to say was, what are you talking about? I watched all 10 movies on my watch list in order.
Very good.
You know, it's funny. I think I watched more movies on Joe's watch list than I watched on mine this year.
Agreed. Mine was perfect.
I watched it. Well, I did watch the Halloween 1 and 2 because I got the Blu-ray box set here recently, which was pretty exciting. And I watched Tucker and Dale versus Evil on Sunday, which is exciting again. But I did watch Nerve, which we debated about doing for the show.
Mm-hmm.
And while it wasn't necessarily spooky or show worthy, it wasn't a bad movie. It was pretty decent.
Was that
I thought the trailer was like halfway decent looking for sure. So.
Was that the Truth or Dairy type movie, or is that something else? That is. I'd probably like it.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. And it had some elements of Unfriended in there as well. So
we watched Jason X.
Yes.
Nice. It's starting to age.
Oh yeah.
Starting.
I read a pretty good article today about like all of these just like really fucking weird movies that came out in like the mid 2000s.
Yep.
Like Jason X and 13 Ghosts.
Yeah.
And they obviously mentioned Resident Evil because that was around when it first came out.
13 Ghosts is awful. It's so
bad. It's so bad. And like I read like even rereading the plot synopsis in the article was like, wow, Jesus, how did I definitely watched it when it came out.
It is my favorite horror film starring Rod Digga.
Sure.
Was Tony Shalhoub in that?
Yes, he was. It's Rod Digga from DMX's crew, Tony Shalhoub, Matthew Lillard, Shannon Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Shannon Elizabeth in the 6 months in which she was in a bunch of movies,
basically
never to be seen again.
Oh, it's apparently a remake. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's an old school.
Also,
like
another
50s or 60s, I believe, Schnorrs.
Yeah.
Another film in the story tradition of spelling out a number in the title, but also putting the number somewhere crammed in the middle of the word.
Mm-hmm.
It's 11.
Yeah. Third one. 3 teen ghosts.
Did we talk about episode 400 coming up?
No.
We haven't.
We should probably do that.
Do we have a movie yet?
Yeah, it's official. It is going to be Halloween 3.
Nice.
Nice.
Cool. Do we reveal whose pick that was?
I mean, I
We
can't.
might as
tell
well.
the show.
Well, no, why don't we do it now?
No,
Well, no. Well, you want to wait, Mark? It's up to you guys.
No, fine. Fuck it. Just do it now. I mean, I thought it would be cool to just wait and then reveal it at the beginning of that show, but we can just do it now.
Fuck you, Mark.
You guys today,
I
huh?
don't know what I did to deserve that.
I was the selector of that film.
Nice work.
Nice.
I think I've mentioned on the show that I've never actually seen it, so I'm actually pretty
it should
excited.
be
about
fun.
it.
You guys failed me. Ghoulies Go to College, I thought for sure was a winner.
I will say that Gremlins 2 was the second place film, but it was not really close.
Yeah.
No, it's for the best that we don't watch that because, I might start doing stuff while recording and we're on video. And I can't be held responsible for what happens.
Wow.
And in my rewatch of Gremlins 2, because I had that one image of the lady gremlin in my head, I forgot she wears like 3 different costumes in the movie. She's in so much of it.
Oh, I totally forgot that.
Yeah. There's the wedding. She's like wearing a wedding dress, and she's like a cabaret singer at some point.
As funny as that movie is, the spider gremlin is like one of the scariest things ever made.
Oh, it scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. Terrifying.
One day, perhaps we can revisit.
So next episode 400.
And are we offering up the stream to everybody? Did we decide that?
Sure.
Oh, we have not, but
good job, Joe.
We haven't decided. No, I mean,
I thought we said
Sure.
we would.
Yeah, let's do it. We're doing it.
We'll figure out how it's gonna happen. Stay tuned to Twitter at BG Horror. We'll let you guys know. Don't forget Joe's on Snapchat.
Oh yeah, I'm on Snapchat.
At BG Horror. Check it out.
All your medias.
Yeah, chat and snaps. T-shirt. What's the status? Are we waiting on people to send you back their sizes, Schnorrs? Has the email been sent out?
I mean, the order is placed. If you have not submitted your sizes, I think we're getting close to the number of responses that we should have. I mean,
cool.
Just based on the number of patrons we have. So, but if you haven't, I also need people's addresses. Even if you're not at the t-shirt level, but you would like some stickers, please send us your address, and you can find that link on Patreon. So,
or if you just want John to stop by.
Yeah, I mean, I can also come visit.
Dressed up as a sexy clown.
And if you want to get back episodes of the show, don't forget to check out patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. Also, you can go to bloodygoodhorror.com and check out our
website
watch list.
Yeah, there you go. Found it.
And hey, as long as we're in episode 400, friendly reminder to subscribe to us on YouTube, BGH Video. Even if you're not a patron, you can see the videos of our live recorded shows a few weeks out. They go up for everybody after that, so you can still check that stuff out. Next week, guys, episode 400. Congratulations, guys. We made it. We all made it.
We made it.
We're
We
here.
should also say we're doing it on Monday.
It's a
if
moment.
people want to tune in.
Yeah, we're doing it on Monday so that we don't have to deal with post-election whatever happens. And I also have shit that's going on, so
The internet might be turned off.
Yeah, well, I may have jumped off a building, so
If the Russians have anything to say about it.
yeah. Enjoy episode
Let's get done,
400
you
is all I'm
bitches.
saying. Yeah, Halloween 3, episode 400. We are incredibly, happy for all of our fans that are sticking around this long and new fans that have been coming to the fold lately, and it's exciting. Should be a good time. That's going to do it for Boo, a Madea Halloween. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you soon.
Adios.
See yous.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.